I think that it's very important to make participants feel that you actually see them and that you know them, that you not only know their name, but their interest, and that also to let them know that you care about them and their perspective. I think that this is something very, very powerful.
Learner participation and learner voice can mean many different things depending on the context, but its impact becomes clearer when we focus on how it's experienced in practice. To explore this, we look at a program that has placed participation at the centre of its work for almost 3 decades. Peace Studies is a 6-month non-formal education program for adults, run by the Centre for Peace Studies in Zagreb. Since its launch, more than 800 participants have taken part, many of them already active in civil society or community-based work. The program invites learners to reflect on themes such as nonviolence, social justice, power, and activism. A key part of the learning process is concrete engagement. To complete the program, participants move beyond the classroom and work on real-life activities such as planning a street action, carrying out research, preparing a social media campaign, or organising a public event. These tasks allow them to test and apply what they've learned in a practical way. To understand this approach from the perspective of someone who has lived it, I speak with Nikica, who completed the Peace Studies program during the 2020 to 2021 cohort. Their experience offers a closer look at what participation can look like in day-to-day learning, what enables it, and how it shapes a learner's sense of agency. This is the Enhanced Podcast, a series focused on learner voice, participation, and inclusion in adult education. I'm Aoife, the Communications Officer at Solidar. This series is part of the Enhanced Project, a project co-funded by the European Union, which works to support democratic practices in education and to strengthen the role of learners in shaping their learning environments. Here's my conversation with Nikica. Thank you so much for joining us today for the Enhanced Podcast. And maybe to begin, I can ask you to introduce yourself a little bit.
Yes, hello, my name is Nikica. I'm from Croatia, from the city of Osijek in eastern Croatia. I run a community center called Social Atelier, and I mostly work with civic educators, so teachers of civic education, and I work in youth work, mostly that, but also in the area of human rights, political literacy, volunteering, active citizenship, and a lot of other topics.
Great, thank you. And you took part in the program with the Centre for Peace Studies. So could you maybe talk a little bit about your motivation to join that program and if there was anything either personally or professionally that particularly stood out to you with the program?
Yeah, well, there was a lot of things. Peace Studies is one of the oldest non-formal programs in Croatia that still runs every year, especially such a program that lasts 6 months. That is something rare in Croatia, and we already have more than 25 generations of peace studies. So this is one thing that was very important. I mean, it's a very respectful program and very visible. Everyone that deals in these topics knows of peace studies. So of course, there's this motivation, I want to try it out. Also, as a practitioner of non-formal educational programs, I wanted to see how they actually do it. How did they create such a sustainable long-run program, both from methodological and from just technical side. Of course, that's just part of it. The topics that they cover are really wide. So from, I don't know, from active listening, feminism, workers' rights, human rights, migration, ecology. There's a lot of topics that are very relevant for working in NGO or being an engaged citizen. And especially for us that sometimes have their niche, which we are well versed with, but there are all these other subjects that are very connected and valuable for us. And if we don't have the time maybe to research on our own. So I saw it as an opportunity to brush up on similar topics that are important to my work, but that I don't have the time to dedicate in like normal circumstances. So that was also a reason. And I think that there is also this component that going to peace studies in Croatia is kind of also a statement, in the sense that it's a very multi-perspective, critical approach to education. And I wanted to experience that firsthand, to go away from these militant national narratives that are dominant in, unfortunately, still in formal education. But this was an opportunity to experience something truly different.
Great, sounds super interesting. So I suppose your interest covered a lot of bases, both the methodological and the content level, and then as a learner, and then your capacity, I suppose, as a provider.
Yeah.
Makes sense. And then in the application process for the program, I gather that you had to give a sort of proposal of the topics or the areas that you'd like to focus on as part of the program. So can you talk a little bit about how that was actually implemented in the delivery of the program then?
Yeah, I remember I was applying together with my close friend, and I remember that we took this really seriously. So we really prepared and typed these essays and read each other's essay, and we were like really into it. And I think that what I liked the most is that although we wrote in these essays about topics that are dear to us, that are close to us, this process actually made us rethink that topic because it's one thing to think about it like in everyday life, and it's another thing to write an essay, to argument, to find maybe different perspectives, and then try to respond to the critics, etc., etc. This was actually a very fun process for us during the application, and it was even more important for us to see these topics kind of addressed during these 6 months. So it was not addressed all at the same time, but there are different subjects that are covered, and all of our topics were part of some subject. And then that came, and we were like wondering, okay, will they mention something about this? Yes, they actually did, and they addressed our topic, and we had the opportunity to talk about our like process of thinking and argumentation during this. So this was actually very empowering for us as participants as well. So we invested a lot, but I think that we got even more from that.
Very nice. So then you had this opportunity to contribute or to feed into the program via the application process. But then in the, I suppose, the way the courses were run or the way decisions were made in the program, did you feel like there was an element of participation available to you in those levels as well?
Yeah, and I remember from the first session after we met each other, of course, we started with group co-creation of rules. So started from the self-governance that we chose how we want this the next 6 months of this educational experience to look for us. So already that kind of set the tone. Not only that we can influence, but that we are responsible for how the next 6 months are gonna look. The curricula itself is set, but there was always this knowledge that a part of what we are gonna do is open to the participants, both through their contribution, but also through their feedback. That the feedback was actually valued, and I think that this is also important because I don't remember last time that I was on a non-formal education that the feedback was not gathered. But this is maybe the first time that I could see that it was systematically actually taken into consideration, and that changes were happening during this process. So it was empowering in the sense, okay, we are not doing this just for because of the formality. Yes, you need to ask in the end people how it was, what we could do better, etc. No, this was actually honestly taken into consideration, and they tried to address as much as they could. If they could not, they would give us the feedback why this is maybe not possible right now, but how they will maybe manage to address it in the long run. So I do think that that also shows a lot of the how the peace studies are set. And of course, the biggest participation is somewhere in the second half of this process. You start working on your project together with your mentor. So we group up around shared topics. Each of us has a little bit different interest, but if it's feminism, if it's anti-war movement, etc., we group and get a mentor, and then we work together on some kind of either intervention or idea or a presentation or whatever it is. We try to together with each from his or her own perspective make something that can impact or address the problem in the community that we recognize. And this is something where we really had to work a lot, but that was because of that even more important for the participants.
Makes sense. So then I suppose on that kind of group work, um, within the group work, how was the experience there, and how did you feel like you were able to foster a sort of sense of shared decision making with people in the group so that everyone's voice could be heard?
Yeah. I think that they managed this because, again, the important thing is that this lasted for 6 months and they did have the time to start easy for maybe just first we met each other, then we started sharing perspectives, and as time passed, more and more we were oriented towards together solving problems. So it was gradual, and each time the group work became a little bit maybe more hard or more we had to contribute more. I was especially maybe surprised how well they. So I was going to pre-studies in 2020, already 5 years passed, and this was the time of the pandemic. So you'll remember that. And this was the first time that most of the program was held online. I was very kind of from in the same time I was very happy because of this because I'm 300 kilometers away from Zagreb. So this was actually opportunity for me to participate. On the other hand, I thought, oh, this is going to be maybe not as good as the program before, but they managed very well to nurture a group cohesion even through and through these online tools. Where we first time that we did met in Zagreb, we were like meeting old friends, and we never knew each other except over the screen. So I was very actually impressed by this. They somehow managed to create a safe space inside an online platform such as Zoom, and we really mm, cared for each other. I know that even I sometimes self-regulated because I knew that I'm taking too much space and that other people also need the opportunity to speak up. So I think that's something that they did very good. That facilitators kind of shared with, or it was contagious their sense of trust and responsibility, so that we all contributed. It was not only facilitators facilitating, we were all kind of doing it within the bio group.
I suppose the online format that you just spoke about there, it could be one possible barrier to learner participation, but as you explained, that was managed to they overcame that throughout the delivery of the program. But then I suppose there could be other barriers to learner participation, maybe around like confidence issues or time or this kind of thing. Did that come up at all throughout the program? Sort of barriers that learners face to really engage and participate in the program, and how were those barriers handled, if they were handled?
I don't have the feeling that there were such barriers. Once we overcame the physical barrier that we could participate from different sides of Croatia, these soft barriers were not a problem because of what I mentioned, that the group took care of each other. We, the participants, took care that each one has the opportunity to truly participate. So we even sometimes knew that, okay, we are doing this group work, person X did not maybe have the chance to speak. Would you like to present this? We are gonna be there for you if you are maybe more shy or you don't feel safe or whatever. We are gonna support you. It's not even important that you remember everything. If there's something important that you mention, we can always add. We try to like empower each other to speak up. But that's also something that I think that the uh, peace studies facilitators put as a standard for us, the participants. Maybe that's also why we started the program with active listening of each other, and we did online small group exercises, how to actively listen, how to support each other, etc. So this was at the start of the program, and we definitely did feel it throughout the program, the effect of such a decision.
It's very nice to hear that it wasn't just something that was implemented in the delivery of the course, but actually something that was existed between you guys as learners. So that's really interesting. And I suppose you both spoke a bit already about how you felt that the feedback and the input of the learners was truly integrated and how the course was delivered, how the program was delivered. Could you think of maybe a concrete example or a moment in which you gave feedback, or maybe one of the other learners gave feedback, and you felt like it really had an impact on a decision or an outcome or the way that something was delivered?
Now, I mean, about the part of that we actually felt cherished. One of the things that I noticed is that, for instance, okay, I expect from the immediate team in the peace studies to know each participants, but even each lecture or a workshop, we had guest lecturers, and they knew who we are. They knew our interest. They knew who is good, who has some kind of expertise, and that's something that I remember that stood out. That we see these people maybe for the first time, and they know our name, and that we already did something at this. So that was very interesting because usually, yes, facilitators know you, those that are with you for all 6 months, and some guest lecturers just come and do their lecture or whatever and leave, maybe not even getting to know you. But in peace studies, they give that extra effort to prepare not only for the topic but for the group. So that's one thing that I would say that is connected to this question. And also, I think that we had an, for instance, for the feedback, we managed to have an, if I remember correctly, an extra offline weekend because we as a group wanted to do that. And of course, this is especially during the pandemics, but also when you financially plan your non-formal project. This was something that was hard to manage probably for the team, but they found a way. And that was really something that we appreciated very much.
Very nice. And then I suppose going beyond the course, there's also an alumni network that I gather you're also a part of. And then how, I suppose, does this allow the sense of participation and engagement with the other learners to continue beyond the course? And what's been your experience in the alumni network?
Yeah, the alumni networks does exist. It's not as active as we would want it to be. So here I'm a little bit critical, and I always communicate this to the peace studies team. We stayed in contact with Team Generation, and we had some contact outside of Generation as well. But I do think that there's still a lot of work there to create a sustainable alumni network. It's more informal in the sense that once we hear that someone, oh, you went to peace studies, me as well, and there's some kind of immediate connection between you because you know that you shared this experience. And as I already said in the beginning, it's also kind of a statement. So you know, oh, I met someone that at least to some degree cherishes the same values as I do, as this person went to peace studies. I did hear that they are planning something bigger this year, so I'm very looking forward to seeing what this is gonna be. I a couple of times used the alumni networks when I had to do some research, so they always helped me, participated, shared. A lot of this stuff is happening, but I'd like more maybe structured things, maybe additional education or a little bit more, I don't know, expert topics, some niches that we could explore together. Maybe even we could organize for each other.
Yeah, I suppose there's always room to develop these sorts of things. So good to know that you have some critical feedback there also. I suppose then beyond the course, in how did you feel that this experience of participatory learning shaped not only how you see your role as a learner, but you also mentioned that you're involved in the delivery of non-formal education. So how did it also shape kind of how you see your role in that capacity?
Well, I learned a lot of things. First off, that it is when you're thinking about participatory design of participatory programs, you always think about how to at the same time have a curricula, but also to leave it open enough so that the participants can actually influence the outcome. Here I saw how it can look, so that maybe 60 or 70% of the curricula is kind of fixed, but there is always this 20 to 30 to 40, whatever the percentage is, but that depends on the participants themselves. And I did introduce this to the way that I conduct at least some longer non-formal programs. Also, I learned from practice how much it means that you actually don't learn only from the program, from the lectures, from the workshop, but that the knowledge and the skills are jointly constructed within the group that or participants that are a part of that programs, because we learn as much from the program as we did learn from each other's experience, perspectives, previous knowledge, etc. So I learned firsthand how this is important, and I learned that how much it is important that participants are willing to take responsibility for the outcomes of their process. So it was really empowering to be on the other side for a change, partially because I don't have to worry that everything goes perfectly. I can be much more relaxed, but also to see how it looks from the different side. And yeah, the project, the long-term programs should include a real world impact project. I do think that this is something that is very well made in these studies, and that should be employed in all other, at least a little bit longer, non-formal projects. In the last couple of years, also maybe from this that I learned, but maybe with a step up, I think that there is an untapped potentially in deliberative pedagogy. So in employing the methodology of deliberative democracy in a non-formal and of course also formal, but now we are talking about non-formal educational programs, and so that the participants get multiple perspectives, that they engage in long-lasting deliberations and dialogues, and that then they make a consensus and take responsibility for collective action. I think that there is a lot of space to work on that.
Nice. So then, reflecting on your experience in the program overall, what do you think were the key elements that need to be in place for meaningful participation in education to truly work?
Probably, I think that taking it slow. First, to build up the group, to build up a group that trusts each other, that can disagree, but in a way that is constructive, that listens to each other with respect. So that's something that is very important for the first couple of meetings to develop these basic skills of listening each other and respecting each other, even when we do not agree. It's easy to respect each other when we agree on something. Also, I think that it's very important to make participants feel that you actually see them and that you know them, that you not only know their name, but their interest, that you maybe when you have such an extensive application format such as these studies do, that you actually read it, that you get to know the person's point of view, and that you kind of try to incorporate that not only to answer to the questions that this person is asking, but also to let them know that you care about them and their perspective. I think that this is also something very, very powerful. And in the end, make them responsible for the outcomes. I think that this is very important because this participatory approach is about also co-owning the outcomes of your own in the educational path. So this is something that I would say that was most important for me from this experience.
To finish up, then, I'd be interested to know if you, as a lifelong learner, are still looking for more opportunities to learn about participatory processes.
Definitely, uh, after peace studies, I also went through even a little bit longer program of Academy for Political Development, which is a national political school of Council of Europe. That is a little bit also interesting in concept, a little bit different than peace studies. It's more political, of course, but it's even more emphasized that people are different viewpoints because through the applications you have to be from different sectors, media, public sector, civil sector, politics, etc., and also different political viewpoints from right to left. And then you actually meet with people that you don't agree with. In peace studies, you still have people that, of course, everyone is welcome, but it's a critical educational program, and most of people that go to peace studies go there because of this. But here there are really different voices, and you learn to dialogue with each other, or at least try to. And a Parent for Political Development has a really good and very big alumni network. We meet each year 200 to 300 of us at the same place, and discuss even more. So there is also other programs that are very interesting. And I myself, I am like going more into research on the basis of deliberative pedagogy. So that's also something that is very interesting to me. I don't know. I am a lifelong learner, but these are maybe the longer programs that I have.
Thank you very much for joining me today, Nikica, and for sharing your reflections.
Thank you very much.
What you've just heard is the Enhanced Podcast, a series focused on learner voice, participation and inclusion in adult education. The Enhanced project is co-funded by the European Union. If you're interested in learning more about Solidar's work on education and lifelong learning, you can find our social media in the episode description, or visit solidar.org.